They're coming off of a pretty good score last time. It was their second best score of the season. They swept their podium finishes, 49-225, the score for the Wildcats on Beam last time.
Yeah, and just we'll update the scores for you there on Beam, but we, last week, I think, if they could sign on the dotted line for that score right now, they would. And it's interesting because New Hampshire has been known as a Beam team for some time. And when we talked to Coach Brooke Ayotte, she just said, they were putting a lot of pressure on themselves. We just needed them to, just to do normal, chill, and just wanted to kind of reset. They did reset. They've gotten a couple of those scores that we know that they are capable of. Some absolutely beautiful beam workers in this lineup.
Yeah, since they had the little competition, mock competition, bringing the beam into one of the small arenas at UNH, they've rattled off 3 straight really solid scores. 2 above 95 and 1 just shy of 2 49 or better,
yes,
and 1 just shy of 49. They had a 48.975, and that's coming off of a pair of scores sub 47.
Yeah, exactly. They had a couple weeks there where pretty much everybody in their lineup fell or had a major mistake. And so, some of the athletes, particularly the back of this lineup, Alyssa Worthington, one of my favorite beam workers to watch in NCAA. Forget the conference.
And then for Penn on floor, they've been kind of consistently this year in the mid-48s. They haven't cracked 49 just yet. What do they need to do to get to that elusive 49 today?
So I think that there's a couple of things. One is going to be those really controlled lunges that we talked about, anchoring that foot, taking the controlled lunge. The other piece is keeping an eye on some of these dance elements. That is a place where they have had deductions before. If you're not hitting 180 degrees in that split, if it's a turning element and you're not getting it all the way around, that's areas where if you're not looking carefully, you don't necessarily notice, but the judges are going pen to paper, or at least they should be.
Here's a look at what Penn did on beam. 48.9 was their score, led by that 9.825 by Kirsten Belkoff. Penn on floor will go with Carly Oniki, Kirsten Belkoff, Alyssa Rosen, Emma Davies, Sarah Kenefick, and Marissa Lassiter. UNH on beam will lead off with Sierra Bauman, then Serena Mullen, Summer Simpkins, Alyssa Bollier, Alyssa Worthington, who you mentioned a moment ago, and then Robin Kelly to wrap it up.
And you can see Sarah Kenefick warming up that really difficult double twist to punch front there.
So UNH on beam and Penn on floor. That's coming up momentarily. We'll be back with the 4th rotation from the Palestra in Philadelphia when we return. It's Penn 146.7, UNH 146.075. Heading to the 4th and final rotation from the Palestra, it's UNH and Penn with primetime gymnastics on ESPN Plus and NBC Sports Philadelphia Plus. Andrew Lefglass alongside Christina Chauvenet. Penn heading to floor, and UNH is going to wrap up on beam. Quakers with a 146.7 thus far, and UNH with a 146.075. Your event title winners and leaders thus far. Kirsten Belkoff won on vault for Penn with a 9.875. She also leads on beam at a 9.825. Kristen Kuhn wins on bars for Penn, 9.875. And Kennedy Brown leads on floor for UNH with a 9.8.
Warm-up period just ended, so we're about to get started here.
UNH is going to lead off on beam with Sierra Bauman, who led off on floor for UNH. This is an opportunity for some redemption for her, right? Because she had the fall to start off UNH's floor lineup.
It's an opportunity and a challenge, right? Difficult to come off of that. You can just see Lindsay Brooke Ayotte is a big fan of just calming the athletes down beforehand, just, giving them some final cues. And by the way, Brooke Ayotte, amazing beam worker in her own right. She performed the Miller. Go back. You can find it on YouTube. There's a couple clips, so would recommend. I asked her if she'd gotten any of her athletes to train it. She says she had a couple play around with it, but it's really hard to do.
So here's Sierra Bauman, who is just coming off of a career high on beam, 9.85 on Sunday. Again, UNH just posted its second best score on this event of the season, 49.225 Sunday.
Just a little slow in that aerial back handspring connection. I think they will still give her that credit, but might take a rhythm deduction. Would have liked to see a bit more height on that cat leap, and she landed the front toss low, but she did a good job of controlling that landing. Difficult. That switch split to sheep jump, nicely done there.
She'll go gainer full off the side.
Wow, sticks the landing. Really good for her to come back from that beam fall. Just a couple of hesitations here and there, but overall, really nice job.
Carly Oniki leads off on floor for Penn. Second team All-Ivy on this event last weekend, 9.75.
Just a little extra power on that double pike, but handles it.
Controlled enough lunge for you there?
Not quite.
She'll go front layout, front full.
Pretty front full. A nice control in that final pass. Really pretty routine.
Couple times in the routine where the lunge was a little bit out of control, but nothing crazy there, not huge deductions.
And, you know, I think the thing about it is it's how you react to that. It's how you minimize that. It's how you keep, you know, not let those turn into bounding steps, and she did a good job there.
How you sell it to the judges.
Exactly, exactly.
Serena Mullen will be next for UNH on beam, waiting on the score from Sierra Bauman. Mullen, a freshman. She has two different versions of this routine. She had a version with a jump series and a version with a leap series. She's sticking with the leaps instead of the jumps. Lindsey Brocayot says it just feels a little bit better on her body.
Yeah.
Like we're getting the score from Carly Oniki's floor routine. 9.575. It appears to be a 9.625 on beam for Sierra Bauman. So here's Serena Mullen.
Too bad. Just off on that layout step out. I think she just got off when she, on the takeoff for her layout step out. Goes for that difficult swish half, and I think she was a bit shy on that as well, maybe still rattled from that fall.
Still trying to fight for those 10s just in case UNH has to count that fall.
Well, and you know, it is for that, but it's also for themselves to, you know, continue through that routine and to hit the rest of their routine cleanly.
And put the fall behind you for the rest of the routine.
And, you know, good recovery, nice routine for her overall.
All right, so 2 spots into the lineup for UNH on beam. Sierra Bauman with a 9.625. We'll wait on the score from Serena Mullen. Carly Oniki gets a 9.575 on floor for Penn. And now Kirsten Belkoff. First pass, Rudy to stack jump. Nice and controlled to start. Back 1.5 front layout. And a solid routine from Kirsten Belkoff. Sierra Bauman's score is in on beam, by the way. 9.725 for Bauman. That looked like it was going to be a 9.675 before. It looks like it's been changed to a 9.725. Serena Mullen waiting on her score in the 2nd spot on beam for UNH. Summer Simpkins will be next. Arguably her best event. The sophomore from Audubon, New Jersey. 9.85 is her career high. Starts off with that full turn. Back handspring, back layout step out. Clean start for Summer Simpkins. Fighting to stay on that side aerial. Dismounts a back handspring, gainer full, off to the side. Fights till the landing. Really narrow margin at the start of this 4th rotation. Penn and UNH within a 1/10 of each other. Here's another look at Summer Simpkins. Back handspring, gainer full. Together on the dismount, just a little bit of fight for the stick at the end. Serena Mullen's score 9.05, so now 2 scores in for UNH. 9.725 for Bauman, 9:05 for Serena Mullen. Penn's only scoring thus far is for Carly Oniki, 9.575. And looks like we're getting a little bit of a judging delay ahead of Kirsten Belkoff's score being reported. Belkoff in the 2 spot for Penn on floor. So we'll see what comes of this judges conference. One judge with a 9.65, the other with a 9.35, and some differential in start value too. You see one with a 9.7, the other with a 9.9 start value. And some of these judges working 2 meets in one day. Coming over from Temple, they had a quad meet over there and heading across town to Penn for their second meet of the night. That's a lot of work. Alyssa Rosen on floor for Penn. She'll start off back 1.5, front layout. Season high a couple of weeks ago, 9.875 at Temple. Closes with the double tuck. And that was a bit of a question mark if she would finish with the double tuck or the double pike. She goes with the double tuck and nails the landing. After Penn has had a couple of, you just say lower scores for them to start on their floor lineup. 9.575 from Carly Oniki and a 9.5 is the score given to Kirsten Belkoff. So we'll see what Alyssa Rosen gets. Summer Simpkins waiting on her score for UNH on beam. She had a 9.725. Now Alyssa Bollier in the 4 spot in their lineup. The full turn. She'll go round off, back 1.5. Another look at the landing by Alyssa Bollier. I'm quite pleased with that beam routine. Emma Davey is now in the 4 spot for the Quakers on floor. Got a 9.75 on Sunday at the Ivy Classic, second team All-Ivy. Good control on the double pike. Front layout, front full. Always been a very comfortable pass for her. Here's the double tuck. And bouncing to a strong finish for Emma Davies. Well, that's coming off of 3 straight sub-9.7 scores for Penn on floor. Alyssa Rosen's 9.675 pacing the Quakers on this event thus far. And so a little work to do in this last rotation. We'll see what Emma Davies gets. This is Alyssa Worthington. Former beam specialist, now sometimes will compete in the all-around. This is the most comfortable event for her. Routine's almost the exact same as last year, except for the dismount. Goes gainer pike, changed from a side aerial to layout full, so that's the only difference from last year to this year for Alyssa Worthington. That dismount again. Nice pike position. And so they're heading into their anchor spot. Robin Kelly will anchor for UNH. We'll see what the Quakers can do to respond after that performance by Worthington. Sarah Kennefick in the 5 spot on floor for Penn after Emma Davies threw a 9.825. So that 9.825 by Davies is leading the pack on floor. She is currently the event title holder. Now Sarah Kennefick. She is playing with a new routine today. Playing with a front double to punch front. As opposed to a 2.5 to punch front. And just sat it down. Sometimes playing with new routine elements can be a bit challenging, and so Sarah Kennefick trying to battle back from that. So a rare fall from one of Penn's best on floor. Sarah Kennefic, who has a career high of 9.975 on this event. Quakers are hoping they won't have to count that score. They'll already have to count 2 sub-9.6 scores. Here's Robin Kelly to anchor on beam for UNH. She's at her career high on this event Sunday, 9.95. Coming back from an Achilles injury this year as well, so tough on this event. Back handspring gainer full, and a solid close to the UNH beam lineup from Robin Kelly. After Alyssa Worthington hit a 9.8, which currently leads their beam lineup. Let's see what Robin Kelly gets. She's going to be very pleased with that performance on beam. On a rotation that started so razor thin. Two teams separated by less than a tenth. We've got the score in for Sarah Kennefic. It's the one Penn wants to drop, 8.675. Let's see what they get out of Marissa Lassiter. First team Ivy Classic on this event this past weekend. Had a 9.8 this past weekend. 9.875 is her season high for the freshman. And Penn will have to count a fall on floor. After Sarah Kennefic fell in the 5 spot, Lassiter does as well in the 6. How does she bounce back? Goes double pike. And hopefully that's a mental reset for her. Great pike position. Solid landing. Okay, so not what Penn wanted to close out their last rotation. We'll see what the scores are that get thrown, and we'll report the final score as soon as we have it officially. But for now, Jenna DiVincenzo will exhibition on beam for UNH. 2 scheduled exhibitions for UNH on beam and 2 for the Quakers on floor as well. Here comes that tough leap series. Switch leap, straddle quarter. Another tough one coming up. Front toss to a split jump. well connected. Gainer full off to the side. That's a really solid exhibition for Jenna DiVincenzo on beam. If you couldn't tell from the reaction by the Wildcats, the junior from Bethpage, New York, with a terrific routine. Is that gainer full? And the salute. All right, so the first of two exhibitions on floor for Penn. This is Bella Garrett. Just a little bit out of control on the landing after that front full. Remember, just an exhibition, but her season and career high, 9.65 on floor. Fought to land that double pike. Waiting to get all the scores in. See if they're all officially reported, and indeed they are, so we can give you the final score. Marissa Lassiter closing out on floor for Penn with an 8.925. The Quakers having to count a fall on floor. It's Lassiter's score they'll count, and they'll drop Sarah Kenefick's 8.675. Robin Kelly wraps up the beam lineup for UNH with a 9.85, which is good for the beam event title. So Robin Kelly wins beam at 9.85. Emma Davies takes the floor at 9.825. Kirsten Belkoff winning vault at 9.875. Kristen Kuhn winning bars at 9.875. And Alyssa Bollier is the only competing the all-around today, 38.225. And so we kind of open this up as a very evenly matched meet today. And indeed, that's what we had. It was a margin within a tenth heading into the final rotation, and the final score is within a tenth as well, but it's UNH to come back in the fourth rotation and win it 194.95. The final score for the Wildcats, and Penn just behind it 194.2. Penn's fourth rotation on floor coming back to bite him a little bit, 47.5. And give a lot of credit to UNH and how they came back in the third rotation in particular when they had a fall in the leadoff on floor. And they fought back in the second rotation too. They had two sub-9.5 scores on vault to begin and battled back to a respectable 48.25 score there as well. Zara Gazdak now exhibitioning on floor for the Quakers. She'll go front tuck through. Closing with the double tuck on that first pass. Pass, round off, double pike. And a strong exhibition from Zara Gazdak. May have one more exhibition on beam for UNH. Kylie Gorgani was listed as a second exhibition on beam, so before we go to break, we will wait to see if we indeed see Gorgani on beam. Jenna DiVincenzo with the beam routine moments ago in the first exhibition spot. Gorgani, of course, sometimes competes in the all-around. It's entirely possible that Lindsey Bruckayat and the Wildcats will just want to sit her out and not have her exhibition on beam, give her body a little bit of a rest. And that looks to be the case. So it does not appear that we'll have an exhibition from Kylie Gorgani on beam, which means we will take our final break. We'll come right back. We'll recap our final scores and event title winners when we return from the Palestra in Philadelphia. You're watching NCAA Gymnastics, where UNH battled back in the last rotation to overtake Penn by less than a tenth. Wildcats 194.95 and Penn 194.2. Penn was leading by less than a tenth heading into the final rotation, and New Hampshire with a brilliant fourth rotation to fight their way after a fall in the second spot on beam to a score of just sub 49, 48.875 in that fourth rotation. Penn fighting through some tough times on floor. They had two falls in their last two spots in their lineup, and so had to count a fall. They ended up counting Marissa Lassiter's 8.925. Their highest score on the event was a 9.825 from Emma Davies. But credit UNH coming back from a few tough events today. They had a fall on their leadoff on floor. They had two sub 9.5 scores in their opening two spots on vault, and yet they came back to post four scores today that were above 48 and one score that was above 49, 49-1 on bars. Ended up being the high point on the day for UNH. There you see what they did on beam in their comeback rotation, led by Robin Kelly, who ended up winning the beam title with that 9.85 in the anchor spot. It was really such a great way for UNH to close out that fourth rotation with Worthington and Kelly